This whole movie's bullshit. What? Why does he have to phone home? They fucking know how they got there. They know they left him behind. Like they know where to go. Like it's not like he needs to call them and let them know.
They don't know where Elliott lives.
He's like 2 miles away on a bike and they can't find the fucking alien again. That's like
he's like, I'm gonna call mom. Mom is like, are you kidding? You left him on the planet.
Right now is the time for me to leave everything I know behind.
And then you sense a change. Nothing feels the same. All your dreams are strange. Love comes walking in. Some kind of alien waits for the opening. Then simply pulls the string. Welcome to Rapid Fighters.
Love comes walking in.
Like an alien.
And then all the synthesizers hit.
Yeah.
Big time.
Sammy Hagar. I mean, big UFO fan.
Yeah, it's Van Halen, Van Hagar, Van Halen, 5150, I think, right? Is that 51? I listened to that a disturbing amount in high school. I really kind of did listen to the hell out of that that Van Hagar record.
I love 5150.
I was like, this is, yeah.
But I haven't listened to it in a very long time.
Greg's like, I had that cassette tape, goddammit.
I had it. I did. I have it on cassette. Yeah. I was a late adopter to CDs, so I didn't have CDs for a long time.
So what are we talking about? We're going back to the 80s. The year is 1982, and the actor, Ronald Reagan, is somehow the leader of the free world. Big Reese's has fallen to pieces. And it's not a great time for extraterrestrials to land in the Redwoods National Forest, which also happens to be in Los Angeles. But here we are. He's afraid. He's totally alone. He is 3 million light years from home. The extraterrestrial in his adventure on Earth. His adventure on Earth, the mystery, the suspense, the adventure, the call that started it all. The story that touched the world, a Steven Spielberg film. We're talking E.T., the extraterrestrial. And we've got an extra special guest, professor of xenobiology and exobiology from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and our friend and oracle, Ryan. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. It's an honor to be here and step away from my xenological studies. So thank you for having me.
I know they're all consuming.
It's you would be surprised how much time you spend in the lab.
and then really, it's the time after you leave work that you're thinking about it, right? I mean, it has to consume your every waking moment, doesn't it?
Pretty much, and I spent a lot of the time Googling what does xenocology mean, and then I did work on it. So yeah,
at our jobs. What is my job again?
I hear the original slogan for ET was in Los Angeles, everyone can hear you scream, including the guys with flashlights that follow you through the woods while you scream.
Yeah, the faceless government agency.
ET's famous shrieking cow scream or whatever that is. That sounds like.
I don't know that words can describe really accurately what that noise is. It's
the alien holler.
Moving to Tennessee, I had never heard a deer scream except the first time I went out at night. I was like, I'm going to go out and look at the stars because here we live in the stars. So I walked out and there were, unbeknownst to me, all these deer on the side of our hill.
Screaming.
And as soon as I went out, they were like, so I was like, what the fuck is that?
It's a herd of Fran Dreschers.
And it happened 3 or 4 more times until finally at dusk it happened. I was like, fucking deer. Damn it. Those were like hobgoblins in the woods or some shit.
Was your next natural instinct to go get a bunch of bagged candy and try to lure them?
Yeah, right. I know what a good idea would be. Just bring these weirdos into my house and see if they kill me.
Because you're so lonely that you just want to.
I'm so lonely.
I'm gonna keep him. Yes.
Why are we talking about E.T.?
Yeah, why?
For everybody out there in the world, Ryan is a dear friend of ours. We used to work together back in the day, and he's been contacting us relentlessly to come on the podcast.
Not me, just you.
And talk about E.T. Why E.T.?
Well, first off, I want to say that Brian told me to come in prepared with some hot takes. And I was going to say that E.T. is arguably the best movie ever made.
Whoa.
But that's not hot enough. It is, no argument, best movie ever made.
Right.
And we'll get into that later.
I mean, no argument with you.
I refuse to argue. I'm saying I refuse to argue. I will leave this podcast if you say anything bad.
Well, I can't wait to see some evidence.
Well, I've got plenty. Why E.T.? This is like one of the first movies I ever remember watching as a little guy, probably 4 or 5 years old. And I was texting with Brian earlier today. I was like, watching it as an adult, I was like, I think the thing that really like sucks you in is the music. It's so fucking good. It's just like, and for me, it's like I can put that movie on now and it's like takes me right back to when I'm a little kid, right? So like that's why E.T. for me.
That's a slogan.
I hope you guys
for
feel
me.
the same.
E.T. 2024.
It's funny. I just watched the movie yesterday, and I'm trying to think of the music, and I'm thinking of all these other John Williams songs.
Yeah,
I'm like, now it's Jurassic Park. No, that's Star Wars.
It's got his touch all over it. Man.
What's the ET thing? I'm struggling to think of it.
Oh, I don't think you
can. Ryan, can you do? Can you
Hum a few bars?
Hum a few bars.
I always think of the scene where they take off on the bike.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I think that's the problem with ET for me because I like watching this as an assignment. I haven't seen it, and I don't even know. I don't even know how many years. But it reminded me, like, I must have seen this movie a million times as a kid because I remembered every single scene that was coming up, but only when I was watching it. Because if you asked me a week ago, 2 weeks ago, to try and like recite the plot to ET to you, I couldn't have done it, or even like pick out more than one or two like iconic scenes, like the bicycle flying and probably the opening scene where the aliens are running around.
I always forget that scene. Actually, that's I always forget.
So, but actually sitting down and like watching it, it was really pulling me in because I was like, I remember having like the talk and say.
The speak and spell,
speak and spell, and then I had like the picture book, the picture book that came with it with like with the record. I remember like flipping through it when I was a little kid, and so much of the audio, like every time like Elliott screams, I was like, that's burned into my brain.
Yeah, and
I didn't remember any of it until I sat down and watched it. So it was a very interesting experience, like reliving those moments of my childhood, watching it again. So,
and I still have a shoebox full of ET cards that are like baseball cards. Yeah, that I got when I was a kid, and I had a paper route, and I had my own money to spend, and I just spent it on dumb shit like fucking ET cards with shitty gum in them. They were packed just like baseball cards, little baseball cards with the shitty gum.
Actually, I have an ET mug that I think my cousin made in art class. It's like, it's very, I'll try to bring it up before the end of the show.
You're like, why is there a monkey with a penis coming out of him? It's like, no, it's his finger. It's
pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, really, that's good.
And good enough to where I was like, I'm taking this for myself. And he's like, fine.
It's just beat him up. Taking this. Okay, fine. I worked so hard on it.
So what is ET about? For anyone who lives under a rock or was born after the year 1999.
Yeah,
fair.
What is this movie ET? Is like
you act like all copies of the movie have been destroyed since 1999.
I just have a feeling most kids these days probably haven't watched it on their own. They probably have a Gen X or elder millennial parent who was forced it down their throat.
I was going to say,
that's the case for my child. Yes. So the plot of E.T. is a spaceship lands in the Redwood Forest in California via Los Angeles, and these alien creatures
beautiful
come out.
Lights over Los Angeles.
Exactly. But basically, these ETs, these aliens, are walking around. And there's some disturbance, and then they all bail and they leave ET there. And the spaceship takes off, and then basically he gets found by a young boy named Elliott, kind of in the hood in the neighborhood, and they become one. They feel each other's feelings. They become sort of one sort of entity, which is kind of plays part of the story throughout the movie. And then the mission is to get them home, phone home, and call the fam and say, "Yo, you guys forgot me. We're gonna come pick you up in the field." And just lots of adventure along the way, guys. So,
and I have to say, I had forgotten that opening scene where the spaceship's there and ET's like digging in the dirt and picking up plants and shit, and they have condom plants that they show.
Xenobiologists.
Yeah, they have apparently some of those flowers in the ET ship were condoms that they stuffed with like gelatin or something.
That scene I did not remember.
Yeah, the cone things. Yeah,
okay. I had no memory of that.
Yeah.
I I was literally thinking, I was watching it again today, and I was like, if I could ask Steven Spielberg like 3 questions about the movie, the first one would be, what the fuck are those cones? Even since I was a little kid, and I never know if it's actually in the forest or in the spaceship.
Yeah,
there's no.
I think it's in the spaceship.
Yeah, but I had forgotten that scene, and then they're walking around, and then the jingly guys come, the jingle key guys come with their flashlights, and all you see is their midsections, and the spaceship is like, I don't know, maybe he's gonna come back. Nope, we're taking off. And I was like, I wonder if that's ET's mom. And I was like, no, it's got to be his dad. The dad's like, I shouldn't let the kid out. She told me not to let the kid out to dig. And then he fucking leaves instead of trying to rescue him or anything. He's just like, I don't know. I got to get back to the missus and just
I need a
something
cigarette.
went wrong. Yeah.
So is E.T. a
shitty
child?
dad.
Is he like...
That was what I was guessing, because I was like, there's some parental figure darkening the doorway of the spaceship, like waiting for him to come back.
What if he's
But
like a
then
second lieutenant on that
they
fucking ship?
fucking leave. The ship is like, oh, well, we tried for 9 seconds to wait for ET to come back. It's time to get the fuck off the planet.
Clip clops AWOL.
Clip clop. Oh, no. Oh, well, we'll move on.
That's a great point, because this giant spaceship lands in a field in the middle of California, and they're like, "Oh, nobody will find us.
No one will find us.
Oh no, the guys with keys.
Super intelligent life form comes
Right outside
down.
one of the most
We gotta get outta
populated
here.
cities ever.
I'm like, I know where to go. Directly where all the fucking light is. That's the best place.
Nobody saw this spaceship land.
Nobody. It's laying on the White House roof. Seems good. Seems good here, right, guys?
For context, what are they doing? Collecting plants?
Collecting plants. Yeah, they're hippies. They're intergalactic time traveling hippies.
I mean, he has a certain connection with plants, but they cut the inside of the spaceship, and there's all this stuff growing. So I was like, oh, are they just harvesting nature from other planets?
Yeah, they came for California kindbud, but they landed too far south. And then the guy's like, come on, get back in. This stuff is shit. You just got ferns. You can't smoke those fucking things.
It's all stomped on. Fuck off.
Then
Let's
he
go.
blasted off. Went to Northern California, got a bunch of weed, and then came back when the speaking spell called him.
Was he trying to get like a redwood sapling? That's what I took away from that?
Probably.
Whatever, but.
Who the fuck knows? He's digging in the dirt, and you see his
Also,
little hands.
It's like Star Trek 4. Where
I think I messaged Ryan this. I was like,
Yeah.
why are the advanced life forms afraid of the fucking humans? They have a giant spaceship. Like, I feel like they could have stood their ground and taken out the humans, but they
don't
did bail.
seem aggressive, though.
I would say they're not like very violently designed. Like
Yeah, they
there's
don't have
little
weapons.
stubby things with like 3 fingers and a giant neck
Yeah.
and a bulbous head. Yeah.
They are members of the Imperial Senate, though, according to...
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah. And like they I mean, like Spielberg made that movie, right? He made War of the Worlds later. He remade War of the Worlds later with Tom Cruise. But yeah, I feel like he wanted them to be peaceful and hippie-ish and loving of life and nurturing and all that sort of thing, and not scary.
Yeah, I figured that was the subtext there.
Which is why M&M's just fucked it hard when they asked him to use M&M's in there, and they were like, that creepy bastard? Hell no, he's not going to be eating our stuff. And then everybody...
Is that what happened? Is that how Big Reese's
went
got
to
developed?
M&M's. I mean, they first thought of it. They didn't even know Reese's Pieces existed because they were a completely like side product. And they
Did E.T. put Reese's Pieces on the map?
Yes, I ate the shit out of Reese's Pieces after this movie came out, and I had never heard of them or eaten them in my life until this movie came out. And then I got them all the time.
Yeah, I did read that it increased sales by like 3x after the movie came out.
Jillion percent.
What?
Yeah.
I believe it. What's your do a top 3 small round candies?
Small. Well, actually, I don't like M&Ms. The regular ones, peanut M&Ms are good. They're superior. Almonds are like too weird. You're like, this is a Jordan almond.
Peanut
thing.
butter M&Ms are solid. Which
yeah,
essentially
those
are
Reese's
Reese's
Pieces.
Just Reese's.
Yeah,
You're
that's just ripping their shit off.
Reese's
I
Pieces.
was going to say Skittles would be my underdog.
Skittles? Yeah.
Skittles are good, but you can only eat so many.
Says
Skittles.
you.
Yeah, I know. They just stick to your teeth. And
Maybe if you're a quitter. Yeah.
pull
The
them
worst
out and
is
shit. I don't know.
what's the caramel ones that
Rolo?
no
Rolos.
Milk Duds. awful.
Oh, milk
Oh,
duds
milk duds
never
are
come off
great.
your teeth.
Come
They
on.
taste
Yeah.
good, but they
Yeah,
never
you
come
can
off
eat
your
one,
teeth.
and then you're just screwed.
That's kind
the
of
whole
part of their
time.
value because they're in your teeth for like 35 minutes. You're just eating it
Never-
constantly. It's so good.
It's like an everlasting gobstopper, but chocolate. Like it's just never lose the chocolate from your teeth.
Underrated. I just thought of this. Remember that candy Sixlets?
No.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember those.
I've never heard of those in my life.
What? Really?
They came in like a little thin package.
Yeah,
You
like
get,
a wrapper,
yeah,
like a
no,
tube of
no.
them.
I'll tell you
Like-
the worst of that type of candy are Smarties. Smarties are the worst.
Disagree.
Smarties are chalk.
You know what? I
made out
can
of
eat
sugar.
a Smartie. I'm okay with that.
I used to eat them when I was a kid and would just eat any sugar. But
Now he has Tums.
I'm like, there's almost no taste to these.
No, they're gross,
They're
but
terrible. Yeah.
I remember I eat them on Halloween. Like I would never buy Smarties, but
Yeah.
like if they were there, I'll be like, I'll eat them.
I feel like they were like the quality of the candy on a candy necklace when they used to make those. Like you'd eat it and you'd be like, "This isn't candy. This is shit." But I'm gonna eat it.
For the record, they still make those.
Do they really?
Yeah.
God, I'm sure they just don't make candy cigarettes anymore, though, right? That can't be.
Yes, they do. You have to go to Amish country.
Where there's no rules.
No, I'm not kidding. They have like old timey candy stores there. They have all the vintage candies, including
Wow.
candy cigarettes.
Where bad candy goes to live.
So someone's still manufacturing it.
I was going to suggest, just like ET's friends, maybe we should return back to the
Return,
plot
ET.
of this.
Come home.
Lovely segue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was the only person that didn't have any sort of connection to ET.
Did you not see it when you were a kid?
No, I did, but when you guys were talking about it, like you said, you remembered everything, and obviously Ryan loves this movie, and maybe Greg didn't say that, but I went into this was sort of the loophole in the system of our regime of how we get watch stuff, and Ryan wanted to do this, and I was like, I don't remember it enough
We've all
so that
seen
it counts
but
that it doesn't
yeah.
haven't seen, and I was like, you know what? I bet when I watch this, I'm going to remember it. Untrue.
Yeah.
I watched.
Oh, yeah?
I was like,
Really?
I don't like outside of two scenes. I was like, I had remember this movie at all. Like I remember
That's funny.
the dissection scene with the
The
frogs,
frogs,
something with that,
vivisection.
and that, and the
Jesus.
Yeah.
and like I remember that scene because the frog's escaping, and I remember like ET taking control, and he like is all like he kisses the little girl and stuff, like he falls in
Gets
love.
drunk
with her.
and shit.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I didn't. I totally forgot about the drinking beers part. Like I didn't.
Yeah.
Like and then I think that was the one thing I remembered, and obviously the bike in the moon. But outside of that, I was like, I don't remember this movie at all. So I was kind of like watching it the first time. I was like, and
Yeah.
I think it changed. It didn't like change my opinion, but I just kept thinking, I don't have the nostalgic connection as a kid, because obviously I saw this as a kid, but then I went through all these movies in the 80s that I felt more strongly connected to, and I rewatched a lot, and I kept thinking to myself, why didn't I like this? Like, this wasn't a movie I went back to over and over again, which was kind of weird. Like, because I know a lot of kids love this movie, but for like comparison, like I've seen the Goonies like 1,000 times, so it's like, why did I connect to that and not E.T.? I don't know, but so I was trying to think of it that way. Like as an adult, what did I think of it? Because I guess I didn't think much of it as a kid.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
So
it might be that it's sad. Like kids sometimes flip out on movies when they're sad, and good Lord, this thing is sad.
Oh yeah, I cry. There's two parts where I cry every time. It's when he's dying in the hospital, like when they're like holding hands and
Christ.
ET's
It's like,
flatlining
Mom,
and
we're
he's coming
dying.
back
Oh
to
my
life.
God, yeah.
And then at the very end, when they like hug goodbye, and it's like,
wait, do you
oh,
cry?
like-
Do you cry as an adult?
Yes, I still do.
That's okay.
I'm glad you do.
No,
Yeah,
that
that's good.
that is very emotional when he says
Therapeutic.
like come, and then he says stay, and I was like
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
man,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
is
you'll
for-
die if you stay. I
This
forgot.
is my version of crying at scenes in E.T. Very healthy.
Just let it go. You gotta let it out.
Completely not fucked up by society.
Yeah,
My
I felt
52
the old
years
heartstrings
I've
being
been
pulled
around.
there a couple times.
Ryan, how often do you see this movie? If it's your favorite
Every
movie
day.
of all time.
I probably watch it twice a year.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Brian knows this because I've
Often.
notoriously seen almost no movies. Like
it's true.
it's like, hey, have you seen this movie? I'm like, absolutely not. I have not seen it. So
And then you're like, this is the greatest movie of all time because I've seen 2 movies.
right. In the 7 that I've seen, this was really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, again, I've probably seen it hundreds of times over the years. Again, it's like that movie when I was a little kid that I watched a ton, right? My peanut butter solution, if you will. But but yeah, it does take on a different, I don't know, different vibe, like seeing it as an adult, right? It's like maybe not as mystical and magical, but like I watched Beetlejuice the other day, and that was another one where I'm like, I haven't seen this in forever, and I didn't remember anything about the movie. I'm like, number one, this movie sucks. It's terrible.
Oh, really? I love Beetlejuice, but I haven't seen it in forever, though.
He's like, I'm coming in with hot takes.
Yeah.
That's brutal. But like, remember, they've got like the sandworms, right?
Yeah.
And like just how terrible they look, right? And like this is
they're supposed to, though. Yeah. I mean, they do claymation. Yeah, I mean, it's not supposed to be like, wow, this is a photorealistic
It's not
monster.
like Shia
I get that, but
Dune,
for the times, like, I'm not expecting like Avatar, right? So like, I would say E.T. the robot leathery carcass that he is pretty good for 82, right?
There's a guy in there, though. There's a guy.
You're right.
In
There is a
suit.
guy in there.
Yeah. And he's like 2'3" or something.
I don't
like
mind the
actual
puppetry.
guy.
Same thing for like Star Wars. Like I think I'd rather have the puppets than CGI.
Way
in some
rather.
cases. Yeah.
I'd way rather have it. And Star Wars, the first Star Wars movies used miniatures, and they would shoot them, in
Like
different
forced perspective, yeah.
levels. Yeah, so like they'd shoot close-ups and then put it against the screen and make it look huge, and that gave it weight. And when they made the prequels, they did all CGI, and it just looked like a blippy, shitty video game. When you had less money, you were better.
I think it forces you to be creative, but
It does.
But if they like redid ET with a CGI ET, it would look terrible.
He'd
I
suck.
think it looks so weird.
Well, they did, and it sucked. It was
Oh, really?
Yeah,
They did like a
That's what he's saying. Yeah,
I think it was the 25th anniversary. I'm gonna look it up.
I have never
Wait,
seen.
they did a
this,
CGI ET?
He's all CGI.
They added scenes. One of them, like when he's like sick in the house and he's like laying there, and the mom sees him for the first time.
Yeah,
he's like
Iconic.
dancing around. Like it's like
what? No, what?
He's like laying in the tub, and he's like all like. I gotta see
He's
if I
like,
can find a.
They're playing "Twisting the Night Away," and he's dancing. Twisting the night away. But one of the really, and you were jumping all over the place, but like one of the really stark, horrifying things in this movie for me was when they find him down by the river.
Yes,
and he's all white and
that,
bloated.
I did not remember that at all.
Christ!
Yeah,
I remember
fucking
that.
horrifying, and it burns in your brain. And then when the mom finally sees him, he's like all white and like
pasty
dying on
and
the
death.
floor. It's like fucking like so affecting. Like I can't imagine a CGI stand-in being anywhere that near that effective. You know, like come on.
I didn't remember that at all. Like,
God,
it was the
I remember
20th
that.
anniversary of the movie. I just found it.
20th.
A new CGI enhanced scene showing E.T. and Elliott taking a bath together. That is salacious.
Okay. Yeah, because there was originally that was supposed to be in, but it was cut. But Spielberg didn't, because he didn't think the puppetry was like up to par. Like it
wasn't the
he
part
was like
about
you
a
can
nude
he was like you
alien
can tell it's fake. So
with the kid.
we're axing this screen.
You don't do
E.T.'s giving a massage.
tub scene with
Elliot.
puppets.
Yeah.
Not in this economy. But go back to your question there about how do I feel as an adult?
Yeah.
I felt manipulated. Is how I feel.
Yeah.
Because Steven Spielberg really beats you over the head with it at every turn. And I was very like it was a very kind of dual feeling. I was simultaneously feeling like I was visiting a town I used to live in. Like every scene, I was like, oh, like the bottom of the gorge where E.T.'s all bloated. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. That had a huge effect on me when I was a kid.
That's fun to see.
Or Elliott being like the middle kid who's always having problems. Like, oh yeah, I remember really identifying with him when I was a kid.
I was a middle kid.
But then at the same time, I'm like the John Williams music is over the top. It's like every opportunity to try and get you to cry or feel wonder. Like kids looking off to the corner and looking off the camera and all wide-eyed, and you're like, just knock it off, Steven Spielberg. I know what you're trying to do to me right now.
Yeah,
I see through your directorialship.
he does this in every movie, though. It is really a hallmark of his. Even like in Saving Private Ryan, all these close-ups of Tom Hanks's shaking hands, and you're like, we get it. He is not well.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it's a bad movie, and I'm not saying that I don't like Steven Spielberg. I'm just like watching this. I was hyper aware of of the attempts that he was trying to get, like, to pull it out of you.
I feel like Hook is another one like that.
Spielberg has this obsession with Peter Pan. Like he has Peter Pan references in all these movies, and they recite lines from Peter Pan. He ended up doing the Hook thing. He really has this thing about arrested development of children, you know, like where they a traumatic thing, and it's always divorce, right? They're always divorced, and it like freezes the kids in some emotional state that they need to get broken out of. All the early movies,
That's like, because that was his childhood.
Exactly.
Like E.T. was based off. He wrote to help write the story based off of an imaginary friend that he made up after his parents got divorced.
Yeah, and
so this is all therapy.
He
for
dictated
Steven Spielberg.
He dictated the story to Melissa Matheson while they were shooting Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then she wrote the script. So he basically was like, and then this happens, write it down. And then
Harrison Ford's punching a big fucking Nazi. He was
exactly.
Like, cut. All right, and then E.T. walks over to him.
And this is how cocaine makes a lot of movies, because
really multitasking the fuck
while you're shooting a movie where you're up all day and all night, you're also writing a script for the next movie, and you never sleep.
So then I found myself in the bathtub with my imaginary friend, and
he's giving me a hot stone massage.
I would have sworn I was messaging Ryan ahead of time. I was like, you know what? Joshua's going to be triggered by the fact that they're portraying the deadbeat dad, like, separated. I was like, you didn't notice that? I was like, I feel like you always get triggered by the cliche, like, deadbeat dad trope of like, oh, the husband's off in Mexico being a dad, like being a
like
deadbeat.
the Barbie movie.
No,
like
actually,
you hated the dad in the Barbie movie because he was like, si se puede.
Because he was an idiot.
The dumb dad.
He wasn't even in this, though. Like, that was, I actually found that scene where they were at the table and Elliott was like, he's in Mexico with Sally.
Yeah.
That was actually really heart-wrenching. Like, I really felt for everybody at that table right there. Because they were all dealing with it in their own ways. Like, the older brother is like trying to defend mom, but also trying to put Elliott in his place. Elliott is lashing out because he's the middle kid. Drew Barrymore, what's her name?
Gertie.
Gertie is just along for the ride and trying to get attention from everybody, and the mom's trying to hold all the shit together. It's a very tense situation. I thought that scene actually
very
played
nice
really
home.
Well.
I thought. I can't believe
Yeah,
I was like,
no,
that
was
back then you could afford it.
That trickle down Reaganomics was really working in '82.
Yeah, really. He only just gotten started then.
I looked up the home. I was like, oh, it's got to be like
there.
a $10 million house, right? But it was like $1.4 million, which I thought for California prices is probably pretty affordable.
In '82,
that's like a $300,000 house somewhere.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. I have to say, mentioning the home scene with all the kids at the table, I had forgotten how good Drew Barrymore is in this, and she's the best actor in the movie, and she's the littlest actor in the movie. I'm like, she doesn't have a false note in this movie, and she's funny and affecting, and I was like, wow, she's really fucking good.
Yeah. Like, kid actors are hard,
whole
but
time.
she does a great job in this.
Yeah, she's great. Elliott does a good job. He has false moments. You know, everyone has false moments in this, especially like Michael, the older brother.
I was gonna say, I don't remember his name. Like, I could.
There's a bunch of times where he's like, come on, man, that's not okay. That's bad. You know, and you're like, he's not so good. And the mom too has like, you know, Michael, don't do that. Oh God. You're like, she isn't so good either. This was back when you could make movies with bad people in it and it didn't matter. You know, like you'd be like now, a big production movie, everyone is good. Like the guy who takes your ticket for your car when you're driving into the garage, who has one line, he's good. Everyone is good now if the movie's good. But back then they let all kinds of shitty people in, and they'd get to have even big parts in the movie, and you'd be like, wow, how'd they get through? Nepotism.
They were dating the directors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like Kate Capshaw in Indiana Jones 2. She was married to Spielberg.
I think he does a pretty good job cast. I mean, I think children, it's tough, right? Like, because like I was reading that he cast Elliott. What's his name? Henry Thomas.
Henry Thomas, yeah.
Because I guess he was able to cry.
He's been in nothing since.
I saw that audition tape. I've seen the audition tape a bunch over the years.
I've seen that too. It's
because he was like, I guess his dog had just died, so he was able to like think of his dog and like.
Well, it's funny because in the audition tape, he's like, they have a guy off screen talking to him. I don't think it's Spielberg. It might be, but I don't think it is. And he's like saying, okay, so in this scene, E.T. they're taking him away from you, and you don't want them to take him away. And we're just going to go from there. Okay. So I'm going to take E.T. from you. And he's like, no, you're not. No. And it like, he, triggers him again and again. And the kid starts really crying. And he's like, no, he's not. He's my friend. And you can't take him. And he's crying and crying. And then you hear, hey, it's okay, kid. It's okay. Literally, he says, it's okay, kid. You got the job.
And the scene.
And he cast him right there because it made Steven Spielberg cry. His audition made Steven Spielberg.
Drew Barrymore pops in and she's like, I don't like his feet.
I know.
The older brother, never to be heard from again.
Yeah. What was his name?
He's like the lead. He's the only one that's not fit. The mom was in a lot of horror movies.
Oh, she?
Yeah, she's like okay. Peter Coyote was good in this too. Actually, now I'm looking at the list now.
Peter Coyote.
Yeah,
he's the
guy
scientist.
With the keys. He's the keys guy. Who they finally show his face.
He came to me too.
I love that little monologue that he has. He doesn't have that much in the movie, but
He doesn't really know.
When he's like, "I'm glad he found you," that little speech he has to Elliott. That was a good scene, man. I think he's the other best actor in this.
Everybody's trying to help E.T. That they're not bad. That all the keys and it's that guy who's looking to help E.T. as well. Like they're all trying to help him. Like, because otherwise, why are they trying to resuscitate him?
No,
and all
they
that
try
sort of
as
stuff.
hard as they can.
So they
to
can
save him.
vivisect him later.
No, so that's the thing is like
no,
that's like
They
the
need
I
you
agree with
healthy
Joshua.
before they break you.
They could have just vivisected him right there while he was
Yeah.
all bloated and sick.
But why were all the NASA? They had all the NASA guys like busting into their house like through windows and like kicking in doors and just like
We're helping. We're helping.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
We're
I mean
helping.
they make the whole movie from the kid's perspective, right?
Yeah.
So I was reading that they shot
Fair.
these medium shots the whole time so that you would be the camera would be at the level that a kid's eyes would be. So that's why you see people's waists, you see keys instead of faces. You make them these faceless, tall characters that are scary. So
Because everyone knows kids can't look up.
right, exactly, and dogs and kids,
and they can't recognize faces.
Yeah. And that's kind of a trick. It's kind of a filmmaking trick so that you're afraid of the government people. You're afraid that they're going to come in and kill E.T. or whatever the hell. And then it lets them have that like break where you realize like, oh, wait, it's actually okay. Like they're actually trying to help. But they do all that making you think the government people are bad.
So are we divided on that? Because I think that makes sense to me because the very first scene is the guy, what's his name? Dr. Coyote? What the fuck is his name?
Peter Coyote.
Peter
That's
Coyote.
the guy's real name.
Yeah,
Dr. Sleep.
But that guy,
his name is Keys in the movie.
yeah.
Like,
So
it's stupid.
so Keys is from the very beginning with the flashlight walking around. They cut to his keys, but he's the same guy, and at the end he's like, "I'm glad he found you." Like, I think it was him.
Because you're an idiot, and I could track you down really easily. And now I found it.
I know. I'm glad
I like the angle of
You did all the hard work.
They're trying to help him too, but like from Greg's side, like from a kid's perspective, they seem like the big bad government wearing spacesuits, but it's like at the end, like no, they're just as interested and they want to help too, and they're trying to find him.
Yeah.
Like
I
that
think the
makes sense to
definition
me.
of help is different though, right? Elliott's trying to get him back home to his home planet on the spaceship, and these guys want to study him. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, because
Stop helping yourself. Stop helping yourself.
No, because at the end, when
I'll help you.
at the end, I thought this was kind of interesting too. They kind of insinuate that the scientist Keys is like, "Hey, I'm going to be Elliott's new dad because I'm nice," and he shows up with the mom at the end with the family, and it's like,
hey, they look like a nice couple there.
yeah. But I was like, they pitch him off as like, okay, he's leading this whole thing, and he's there at the end not doing anything. Like he's watching him say goodbye. Like I feel like he's on the side of Elliott of being like,
He is.
no, I'm fascinated from like an adult perspective. Like, I'm interested, the same thing. I mean, obviously from not like an emotional standpoint, but I think they're coming at it from like both a place of wonder. At least I like to see it that way. I think that makes it more interesting to me.
No, I think they do that. They purposefully do that. I think it is funny. What we were talking about, Joshua was talking about like, oh, thanks for giving up all this surveillance to us. I'm like, that scene where they're surveilling the community and they're listening for clues and you hear like random snippets of other people's conversations. And then they cut to Elliott's house and they're like in the basement and they're like, if we go out trick-or-treating tomorrow night, I think we can do the thing where we go trick-or-treating. And they were like, we're going to stay in this house. This is intensely interesting. And I think it's the house with the alien. You're like, they're not saying anything revealing. It's the worst government operation ever, but somehow they're right. Somehow.
Whether you think that they're helpful or not, they're breaking numerous constitutional laws.
Wiretap
Agreed.
laws. I know.
Thank you.
Privacy laws
No.
right out the window with these guys. So
Also, I think it might be a hot take. I don't think the disconnect between E.T. and his kind are what killed him. I think it's all the shitty junk food that Elliott fed him.
empty calories. Just empty calories.
It's just like garbage food killed this alien.
The mom is like, you give him a Twinkie wiener sandwich? Good Lord.
13 Coors Banquet beers?
Yeah.
Why does the mom have Coors Banquet
Also,
beers?
why does
It's
the mom
so
not
weird.
freak out when the beer cans are empty?
I know.
Yeah.
She's like,
80s.
empty. And then she's like, my son has been at school all day, but they're saying he was drunk. And then she goes like this. She looks in the can and then smells it to see if it's beer. Like, it's beer.
It says Coors. This is why he's in Mexico with Sally.
Good detective work. I know, right? Yeah, the mom is an idiot. The mom just like fucking skates through life without saying anything. Like, E.T.'s got like a wig and a dress on and lipstick, and he's like clacking a maraca in front of her and like setting something on fire. And she's like, let's see what's in the fridge. An orange? Gertie, do you want an orange? And E.T.'s like, E.T. phone home, E.T. phone home, E.T. phone home. And she's like, I gotta go to the hairdresser. Will you be all right in the house by yourself? I'm gonna be gone for 6 hours. And Gertie's like, no problem, Mom.
E.T. walks between her legs.
Yeah. E.T.
I'm
motorboats
staying the night
her.
with Dr. Coyote.
Yeah, that scene where he's hiding in the stuffed animals and she like
So
pans over.
stupid.
It's so iconic, but
I
watching
love
it as
those
an
little-
adult, you're
The
like,
little visual
Such
gags
an
like
idiot.
that are funny.
There are like 19 scenes though too, where he's like E.T.'s like spilling milk, turning
Yeah.
the TV on. He's like, over here, motherfucker, alien in your house. And she's like, anyway, gotta go pick up some groceries.
she doesn't work for SETI. She's just trying to keep a household together.
Josh,
I'm not
in the-
good on my own, okay?
In the first scene where they go in the closet when like the mom gets home and they all run and hide, like
Yeah.
the brother's holding Gertie's mouth, and you can literally see the mom on the other side of the sledded like closet door. She's like,
I know. I was
like,
thinking the same thing.
"Oh, you must be. I'm gonna go take a shower." Okay.
This is how her husband had an affair right under her nose for like years, and she didn't notice it. Right? She comes in, they're like having sex in the bed, and she's like, "I wonder where I left those socks. Just looking for those socks." And then when she finally discovers them, she like sees them together, and she's like, "Oh my god!" But then she has to lift the blanket up to see if there's sex going on. Like
she's
the beer
just
can.
she's real still
There
upset.
is. Oh my god, there's sex in here. He is having an affair.
Who said you could order a pizza?
Who said you could have an affair? Who said you could take the other car to Mexico?
I'm pretty
no
sure-
one listens to me.
At the beginning when they're playing D&D, I'm pretty sure one of those kids is smoking too. Like,
Yeah,
it's like,
right.
Anything
who said you
goes.
could order a pizza? Smoking's
I know.
fine in this household.
I know. I
Ryan,
love,
No unauthorized.
Welcome
I
to
love how much of a bunch of skids those kids are. Like the kids that his brother hangs out with.
Yeah.
They're just like the biggest turds.
I was gonna say, Ryan, welcome to Rabbit Fighters, where we destroy your favorite movies.
It'll all come back when we grade it.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to give it
I'm
A's
all
across
for
the board.
trashing the mom.
I know, right? But I love how like those three idiots are trusted with like the safety of the only alien to ever land on planet Earth. With when they escape from the government pods and stuff. He's like, he pulls
Guys,
the car over. He's
get
like,
the bikes.
get the BMX bikes and meet me at the top of the hill. We're gonna save this alien. And they're like, okay, bro. BMX all the way.
And you're gonna get chased by the cops who are helping E ET.
Yeah. I know, but not anymore or something. Yeah.
Well, yeah, then it's clearly that these kids have now become BMX stunt riders, like just doing these like hops. It's like, all
And
right,
they're like,
like
they're like 6'6" when they're doing the stunts on the
Yeah.
on the hills, like the dirt hills. You're like, they're huge.
Or like going over the cop car
yeah.
I know.
with an alien in a basket.
Yeah, right. I know.
I guess he's not in the
A
basket.
really
And, like-
fragile alien.
And like,
Right.
at what point you want to shake ET at this moment and be like,
Who just came back to
when
life.
did you get the idea to start flying?
Yeah.
We could have been flying the whole time.
Also, he could have flew himself back to the thing.
I know. What the fuck? You can levitate shit.
Also,
That would be a good time.
he's dead, right? Like,
But not. That's another emotionally manipulative scene too, because like, if you kill a character, you have to kill a character.
Yeah.
You know, they were like, with no explanation, they're like, he's dead and he has no pulse, no oxygen's coming in and out. He's stone cold. We closed his eyes. We packed him in ice. We shut the fucking lid on him. He's dead. And then Elliott's like, I love you. And he's like, maybe time to come back to life. And you're like, no, what?
so I
Can't
thought
do
that
that.
too. I thought it was because he says he loves him.
It
But then
was.
no, it wasn't. I think I also, well, I guess that's one theory. One other theory would be that they were, once the aliens had reconnected with him because they're returning. So once they got in closer proximity, he can like come back to life.
That's always been my theory. Is like he made contact because remember then the
Professor of
Dr. Coyote-
xenobiology.
Yeah. Oh, I defer
Yes.
to the
But he was asking, he's
So-
like, what did I find in the woods? Like, what is this device? Remember, he's asking about that,
Yeah,
like
of
right
course, yeah.
before he dies.
Yeah, it's the phone home machine.
Also, not to go completely off track, but you said Stone Cold Dead, Greg. There's actually a YouTube like series of Stone Cold ET. It's fucking amazing.
Oh, God.
Guy wears an ET mask and just like has a Stone Cold voice and just like crushes beers and like goes to like the drive-through and it's amazing.
That I have to see.
Oh, God bless the internet.
So you're saying like basically there is a like a cell phone tower of heart strength that is connecting and then when you get into range, you're like, oh, they're out of range. So
Yeah.
he died.
That's
But when the heart cell phone came back into range, it was like, oh, wait, we got 3 bars. 3 bars.
yeah, and that's why
4 bars.
his little heart lights back up again because his alien pals are nearby.
It seems like a flaw in their evolution for a spacefaring race.
Also, in what world does that like turd-shaped body like where is that like an efficient form?
It's
Dagobah.
good for picking up plants, right? Because he's got those
Yeah.
grubby fingers and he just like
Lumpy.
lifts them up.
The extendable
And then you
neck.
gotta, like look over a bush, like any more
Yeah, I
plants?
guess. Yeah.
I have to think he lives on a land with a lot of shallow water, but not deep water because he would just die.
And-
Their planet's like New Zealand. Like there's no predators.
I was gonna say
whatsoever.
because nothing
Yeah, right.
he can't run, so
Yeah.
he must.
No, he can run.
He's like a
Not
kiwi.
fast.
He
but-
can run quite fast. Yeah, in the beginning, remember?
That's
Hey!
He's
He
like-
does
You
berserker
just see the
ET.
ferns going everywhere. Like, holy shit, he can book it, man. And in ET, the video game, the Atari video game from 1982,
Terrible,
you can
terrible video
hit the
game.
button and he'll dash. So
Really?
I
Oh,
assume
okay.
I assume that's canon.
Maybe he should have used the dash button to get his ass back to the spaceship and a little quicker.
Yeah. And again, like what, like just like the mom, like Peter Coyote, the keys guy, suddenly becomes adult when ET comes back to life because he's in the pod and ET's like, ET phone home, ET phone home, ET phone home, and he's like, he puts a hand over him and he's like, ET phone home, ET phone home, like, and Peter Coyote comes in, he's like, oh, the kid's sad. Shut the lid on him, but he's still like, ET phone home, ET phone home. Like,
That booth
you can't fucking
soundproof.
hear that.
It's soundproof.
Come on, you can hear that.
His red heart is like glowing.
I know. He
Oh,
puts,
yeah.
he puts like a medical rag over ET's heart so you can't see it.
It's just the
come out
Aurora
the
Borealis.
edges. Like, oh, I left the
Entirely
flashlight.
contained in that room.
Yeah, great.
So you'd think we all hated this
Skinner!
movie.
Oh god. Should we rate this?
Well,
Or
we
do you
didn't-
have some trivia to talk about first?
no trivia.
Some
I mean,
fantastic facts.
we didn't really do our what did we like, what didn't we like. I guess we just kind of
Yeah.
tiptoed around the
I think
things
we've just been shitting on it left and right.
I know.
We've been
I think
we've been
no,
doing
we
the
covered
weave.
what we
All
didn't
right.
like.
We've
I'll
been doing
say-
the weave. We've been doing some good
The
stuff and some
weave.
bad stuff, and we're coming back to it.
I think we're pointing out the fucking dumb stuff and the silly stuff because the rest of the movie is such an iconic movie and it's so successful and so well regarded and so loved that, like, what are you going to do but pick at it?
Okay. So, should we rate this?
Yeah, let's do it.
I guess we should. Yeah, probably.
Okay. On a scale of Chris Elliott to Elliott Smith, what is ET?
Would our esteemed guest like to go first?
We already know he's going to give it an A.
Which is the good Elliot?
Elliott Smith, obviously.
Okay.
Obviously.
I would go with that. Obviously, I would, obviously for my own personal nostalgic reasons and biases, I would give it a Sam Elliott. This is why I asked earlier. Objectively, I would, give it a A minus.
Do you?
A minus. Best film ever made is an A minus.
Objectively A minus. Subjectively A plus 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 plus.
Oh, okay.
Heart grade versus head grade. Yeah.
Who's up next to grade this?
How about you?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do the honors. I don't really know. I'm gonna give it. It's like it's an A minus. I can't account for the fact that I have blocked so much of it out that push come to shove, I couldn't have told you anything about this movie up until having watched it. But it just triggered all those memories. It was like buried deep in my subconscious. It's a fine film. It's a good effort, Steven Spielberg.
Fine film.
You put it all together. You got everybody in the room. You filmed them. They said lines. They were all fantastic. And, there's some special effects. They're believable. John Williams is like in the other room just blasting the fucking doors off constantly. Pulling at those heartstrings.
Yeah.
Cry, motherfucker! I don't know what else to say about it. It's E.T. Yeah, it's a good movie. I just don't know that it's a time capsule. Like it exists in the 80s. It's very dated, but it takes you back there in a way that just, if you grew up in the 80s, it feels good. Like that living room where they're playing D&D and it's smoke filled and the kids are ripping on each other. Like you feel like you've been there because you've been there when you were a kid, and like that, not that exact same living room, but it has the same feel. So it just sort of transports you back. So
I would say that was probably one of the iconic scenes for me is when they're in the kitchen. But one I would say if I had to nail it down to one is when Elliott goes back out at night to sit. He's like sitting in the lawn chair
next to all the corn outside of Los Angeles.
Also,
I know. I was like, what's all the corn?
Well, and then when he chases them off, he like runs up the hill in the backyard and he knocks his trash cans over. And I'm like, who has their trash cans up the hill in their backyard? So there's that. But I would say the scene where like E.T. comes out with the Reese's Pieces for the first time and like walks up to Elliott, and Elliott's like freaking out and can't say anything. He's like screaming for his mom and his brother. Michael! Mom! Michael! Yeah. And then he like puts it down. Like that's probably my scene.
I remember the blade that cuts him and then the healing of that. That was
giant saw blade. Yeah.
That's a good one too.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me. One of my parents' friends would drop their kids off at our house sometimes, and they would like hang out. And one of my parents' friends was this really hyper kid, and we had a shed in our backyard that had a skylight on it because we had like rabbit hutches out there. This kid John climbed up on the roof of our shed, and he was doing ET lines. He was like, E.T. phone home, E.T. phone home, and he backed through the skylight.
Oh no.
He fell through the fucking skylight. And then we were like, oh God, and we like ran down the shed around the front. He walked out of the shed and he had glass sticking out of him. And he looked down and he was going, ow, ouch. But then like the shock wore off and he was like,
bit.
ah!
Was he saying
Ran
ouch like
away.
E.T.?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, showmanship.
He was
Way to
still in
stay
shock,
character.
You know?
Yeah. Fucking legend.
And then he saw blood coming out and was like, ah! The parent had to run and get his parents. They were like,
Jesus Christ.
Shout out to you, John, if you're listening.
Slow clap for John.
Then we're just like, oh, that's a funny story. Like, was he okay? No, he died. But
no.
He bled to death
bled to
slowly.
No, he was okay. No, he was okay again. Like he was always like breaking bones and like getting cut and like smashing into stuff.
The kid's gonna be on Jackass one day.
He's totally fine. After the stitches.
All right, Greg.
Yeah.
Review.
I'm the same as you, man. It's like an A- because of it's a time capsule. You know, like you got to grade it on what they had available to them at the time. You know, like one of my favorite movies of all time is the original King Kong movie, which if you look at it by today's standards is a shit pile. You know, you're like, Nothing is
Like
realistic.
the 1920s?
Yeah, 1929
Okay.
Kong. Yeah. I fucking loved that movie when I was a kid.
Were you like
I had a
9 or?
I had a King Kong doll or something. No, I was 12 when it came out. And
Did you serve in World War II, or you're just
no, I had bone spurs. I had terrible bone spurs in my
yeah.
heels, and so I had 3 deferments.
Debilitating. Yeah.
Yeah, debilitating bone spurs.
But you wanted to serve.
I wanted to serve. I love the military. But so the same thing with this. You know, they had what they had. They made what they made. At the time, I was obsessed with the movie. I bought all the ET trading cards. I ate Reese's Pieces all the time. We did the lines. All the
Single-handedly
ouch,
kept
you know.
Big Reese's afloat.
Yeah, exactly. Me and my paper route money. And yeah, so it still exists in my head, and it's, you know, a time capsule as E.T., the iconic movie from the 80s that I fucking loved. And yeah, as such, it's an A-.
Belonging.
Yeah, I'm kind of seeing it through the eyes of an adult because for one reason or another, I know I saw this as a kid, but I don't think it really resonated with me very much. I don't know why, but I think this is where obviously Steven Spielberg shines, right, in storytelling, and I think the emotional tugging at the heartstrings. It's a very sweet story. You know, the boy finds the alien. It's really about love, right? You know, they become buddies and that kind of stuff. So
Just like Bono wrote about.
yeah, and I for me, like I like these type of movies, obviously from the 80s, because it's like a simpler time. Like like you said, your family still get together, and even something as dumb as like ordering pizza on the landline, I think that resonates with people of our age, you know, and that kind of stuff, and like having your friends over, and like it's just you got to get places on your bike, you know. It's like it's a whole different like time and era. Even something as stupid as going trick-or-treating without your parents, like that doesn't happen anymore. So like, for me, it kind of like, it's like, yes, it brings me back to my childhood living in suburbia, and this is kind of how life was. So yeah, I think in terms of like the story and what I liked about this type of movie, I think I always lean more towards like I said this earlier, like Goonies, like the adventure type stuff. Like there's a lot of action and it's fast paced, and I didn't really resonate too much with like the characters of Elliott or anything like that. Like I said, I couldn't even remember the older brother's name. But like they're kind of throwaways a little bit, except for Gertie, because it's like
generic name.
Yeah, he's just like older brother number 2, you know, in a way to me. So, but Gertie's very. You can tell that, you know, you could have put anybody in the brothers role, like Corey Feldman. He probably is something, you know, at that time. But yeah, either way, I give it a B+ because I think the best thing this movie's got going for it is the score. I know Josh was like, it's blasting, but I mean, it's pretty, I mean, every John Williams score is pretty iconic. So that, and I love, you know, like the shot across the moon with them on the bike. Like it's very inventive. It's very creative. It's a clever movie, as much as I don't really like, I have no need to go watch ET twice a year. Like Ryan, like it's not going to happen. Would I force my kid to watch it? Probably not. I'd rather watch him Jaws.
You'll change your mind when you have a kid.
At least what?
Like,
Jaws has a moral to
Jaws. Never showing my kid.
Yeah, well, you know, at least realize you need a bigger boat. I don't know. But B+.
Teaches you life skills.
Yeah, you know, you can't go down with 3 barrels. Not with 3 barrels, you can't. I feel like that's just physics.
3 barrels.
But yeah, B+, because it's the time capsule.
Brian brought up trick-or-treating. What's your favorite costume that you made yourself when you were a kid for Halloween?
Does it count if your mom made it?
Sure.
Then I know mine immediately. My mom one year made we were all crayons.
Oh,
classic.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I was Brett Favre for like 8 of the 10 eligible years that I had. I just like threw it on.
Brett Favre.
But I will say, when my son turned 1, I took his stroller, I bought a milk crate, and I retrofitted it into the bike from ET, and I had a red hoodie, and I was Elliott, and he was ET, and he fucking hated it.
Brilliant.
But I got some good pictures.
Why do you hate it?
Great.
You'll learn, Brian. Your day's coming.
Yeah. Well, mine was as spoken earlier, King Kong. My mom made me a King Kong costume, and I was probably King Kong for like 4 or 5 years in a row. And I wore the King Kong costume as pajamas to bed, and she had to keep repairing the damn thing because I kept, like wearing it out, and then she'd be like putting patches on it or whatever. So I ran this thing ragged.
One year I went as a robot that was it was made out of a cardboard box that was covered in aluminum foil, and the arms were made out of like the rubber tubing that connects the dryer to the wall.
Yeah.
Dry vent. Yeah.
Yeah, and so 2 arms through those, but it was too long, so I couldn't bend at the knees, so I couldn't walk up anyone's steps. So I had to stand at the bottom of the stairs and like ask for candy.
threw it
to
at you?
come down to me. Yeah, so
They just launched
That's
candy at you.
yep.
I'm a little disappointed you didn't break out the ET cards.
Oh, I have them here.
Ryan's going to make you an offer on those cards.
I was going to send you my address and just hope they show up.
Okay, I found the box of them.
Yes.
Because I'm in the basement. And I can put a few of them. I'm not going to show all of them, obviously, but let's see. This is
Long John.
A boy's best friend?
best friend.
Question mark?
And yeah, I know. Question mark. And by the way, you were talking about the frog scene earlier. That was my favorite scene in the movie when I was a kid. I loved the frog scene, especially that he let the frogs go, because I was like, "Don't kill the frogs, you monster!" And there's a card with a girl holding 2 frogs.
Oh, or
and
she's just
about to
standing on
pass
the
out.
thing
the
with the
girl
Yeah,
with pigtails.
Yeah.
And underneath the caption I still remember is "Frog Madness."
Mm.
Here it is. I found it. I
Is it
found
really
it.
frog?
Frog Madness.
Frog madness.
Frog Madness. And there's the girl with the pigtails and the frogs.
That's a good
Bet
scene.
those cards
And
are
which
worth
I must
10
point
cents.
out, I think there are like 20 kids in that class, and when the frogs get
A
let
lot.
out, there are 700 frogs.
That's true.
How many vivisected frogs were
The
they
school
planning?
district was flush with frog money that year. I mean,
It's like a plague.
PTO had a fundraiser for.
Found a little extra budget that we didn't know we had. It was either fix the roof or 700 frogs for vivisected.
I heard they
You know
used
which one
those
we're gonna go
same
with
frogs
every
in
time.
Magnolia later.
Yeah, the frogs in Magnolia.
I'm glad that Greg's sitting on tens of dollars worth of
Tens
trading
of
cards.
dollars. Yeah.
Tens of dollars.
all right. Well, Ryan, thanks for stopping by and
Yeah, thanks for
talking to
having
us
me. This
about
was
ET.
fun.
Thanks for bringing ET back into our lives.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Next week on Rabbit Fighters, I believe it's Greg's turn to pick. What are we?
It is.
What are we doing?
I've noticed from listening to past episodes, I do tend to make fun of parody movies, like movies that are like, oh, we're kind of joking on other movies and stuff like that. And I'm like,
Like UHF.
yeah, like UHF and the Super Troopers, and and I was like, do I have parody movies that I like? I just remember this movie, Johnny Dangerously, which is an old Michael Keaton
I've never seen that.
gangster
I've never seen that
parody
either.
movie, and I remember seeing with my nerdy friend Bill Heilman in Boston when I was like 13 or something. I haven't really seen it since then. And what I think I liked about it was that it wasn't a shot for shot parody of another movie or something. The genre of gangster films is being parodied, but no specific movie. It's not like they're doing The Godfather and he's like stroking a raccoon instead of a cat, and you're like, oh, I guess that's funny. It's like,
Actually, it's kind of funny.
I just came up with that. Maybe I should make one, but yeah, like it's parodying the genre of movies. So I think that's probably why I liked it.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Ryan, you gotta hum us out.
Isn't that also like Star Trek? Or
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like Star Trek.
I
was gonna
can't
say
hit
that.
the notes. Guys.
And as soon as I went out, they were like,